Max here, and welcome to this podcast version of episode 1 of Maybe Movies. A light edit of our original episode, which first aired on the 7th of August 2020. Kind of doing it because a few people have told me that the show would work really well as a podcast. With Maybe Movies being almost 3 years old, I figured it would be a nice time to go back and put some of the editing skills that I've picked up over the past 3 years to good use, and then just try and tart up the audio from our original episode, which in fairness wasn't great. Of course, I can't do that much with the video portion of the episode, but I can do with this. Please sit back and relax and enjoy our first foray into Delirium, and I'll be back at the end with some parting words.
Maybe Movies.
Sam?
Yep.
How did you get in here?
You invited me.
The door's locked?
But windows mean nothing to me.
Are you hiding behind the mirror?
That's it then.
Well, it's good that you're here. I suppose you better get yourself a drink.
Oh, yes.
You've got a drink. That's good. Oh, what did I invite you here for again?
Something about movies?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's it. I was watching Karate Kid the other day.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in years, and no matter how many times I have seen it, I always forget about like the 2 minutes at the beginning.
I haven't seen it for a while myself either. What do you mean?
Most of that film, probably like me, you kind of remember it from where they're driving in the car.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
there's like 2 minutes right at the start of the film where you actually see them leaving their home city of Newark in New Jersey.
Jersey, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And they're saying goodbye to the family and saying, yeah, look after them and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And even though I've seen that before, I kind of forgot about it, and it was just a slight change to how I, interact with the film. But then at the same time, it got me thinking, and I was like, I didn't realise it was that much of that kind of fish out of water trope. Just having that kind of bit of, almost like that closure of his old life at the start, it changed it, and it got me thinking about other films. As a result of that, I started thinking, so what if instead of Danny and his mum heading out to California to go and to their place in Reseda?
Reseda.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
What if they went somewhere else instead? But what if instead of going to Reseda, they went to the murder capital of the world?
What, Santa Cruz?
Yeah.
Oh, Santa Carla.
Santa Carla,
Yeah.
yes.
Sorry. No, Santa Cruz in real life. No, Santa Carla.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was filmed, wasn't it? It was got Santa Cruz.
Oh, okay.
And vice versa. What if Sam, Mike, and Lucy, isn't it, their mum?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's so hard to remember those names. Yeah.
What if they went to...
So they went and Sam and Michael and everybody met Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
And Daniel Sam went and... Okay.
I can never remember his mum's name. I don't even know if it's ever said in the film. Daniel's mum, I don't think she is. I'm terribly sorry to the actress.
Oh, no! I don't know either. That's terrible. I feel so bad. That's not right. I should know.
But that's what I thought, and I just thought, yeah, it would be an interesting thing to just try and figure out how those storylines would develop with a different set of characters, but who are on a similar kind of journey.
Nanook. Right. Is Nanook attached to the Lost Boys? Or is Nanook with Sam and Michael? Because I'm going to be honest, I don't know, I kind of feel like Nanook belongs in the Lost Boys because he does so much. I don't know.
So Daniel Larusso and his mom,
Yeah.
and Sam and Michael and Lucy, they swapped destinations.
They
They're all
swapped
headed to
destinations.
California,
Yeah.
but they're going to they're not going to where they were originally intended.
Exactly, and then they
Okay.
then drop into the storylines for the other person's film, if you like. Do the storylines gel enough that you could create 2 new movies just by changing the protagonists?
I don't know.
I mean, I think in terms of, we want to invent as little as possible. In terms of what's not law that's established.
We don't want to make a new movie. We want to make this movie, but with these characters.
Yes.
My first thought is like, actually, Sam and Michael in The Karate Kid actually really kind of work. Lost Boys has two plot lines, doesn't it? It has the plot line of Michael and the plot line of Sam.
Yeah.
And they cross over, but they are separate plot lines. And then you're taking that situation that had originally had two brothers, and now you've only got one Daniel.
Yeah, but I thought Daniel, he fits in quite well. I can always imagine he's about the same age as Sam. I think they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
They're both supposed to be about 15. 6, maybe he's a year older, and I'm assuming Michael's supposed to be 17.
Doesn't Daniel have a birthday?
He does have a birthday, and I can't remember which one it was. It must be under 18 because it's the all.
I know
the tournament is the All Valley
under
under
18
18 talent.
No, because Mr. Miyagi gives him the car. He turns 16.
He turned 16, yes.
He turns 16, so he must be 15 at the start of the movie.
So that fits.
Yeah, that's pretty close to Sam.
But also...
Because Michael's like easily 17 going on 18, isn't he?
Yeah, but the main difference there as well, the reason I thought he's got, he can fill the role that Sam fills, that Michael fills, is because Danny's interested in girls.
Especially in Karate Kid, yeah.
Yeah.
He's very much, I want to get the girl, and then he gets in trouble, and then stuff happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also, with regards to that, I know obviously most of what he goes through happens in the Karate Kid itself, obviously, because of him meeting Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
But he does have some knowledge of karate. He studied some.
He's had like a lesson or something, hasn't he?
He does say at one point that he did, what was it called? It's called the Y Club or something.
Right. The Y, it would be the YCMA.
You just referred to it as the Y, so yes, I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah. But he said he did about 6 months.
Yeah.
There.
Oh,
so,
6 months. Oh, right.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a lesson or two.
No.
Oh, right.
He mentions it twice, I think. Once sort of quite near the start of the film where it's like a throwaway line. And then a bit later on, he just definitely say about 6 months.
Oh, okay.
So he has some knowledge.
Yeah, he does have some knowledge, yeah.
And of course he's got his book as well, which he's learning from.
Yeah.
I mean, even that, I thought that's valid because Lost Boys is more...
Wait, hang on a second. What are we talking about here? Are we still talking about are we talking about Daniel in the Lost Boys?
Yes. Yeah. I'm talking about what
so
kind of...
So he comes into the Lost Boys with this knowledge of a little bit of knowledge of martial arts.
Yes, yeah. I'm just looking for transferable knowledge that would also work in that.
Okay, yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that would totally be a thing.
I mean, I must admit, at the moment, it kind of feels like we're running ahead of ourselves, so possibly...
It's difficult to know where to start with something like this.
It is.
All right, so let's take it one movie at a time.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
It sounds like we're starting on The Lost Boys.
Yeah.
We've already started talking about it, because we're talking about what Daniel is when he arrives in the movie.
Yes, exactly.
So are we agreed that Nanook is definitely in The Lost Boys?
Yeah. So are we... So I take it then we're saying that when he goes to Santa Carla, and I'm guessing they go and they are staying with Grandpa.
Yeah, of course, because that's the essential plot of The Lost Boys. That is... I mean, because...
So to tie it up then, how about this?
They're both women that are moving because of their circumstances.
Yes.
And Daniel's mother's moving, I mean, presumably... Okay, so this is a question. She moved because she had a job in California.
Yes.
So does she already have that job in the Lost Boys? Or does she still need to find a job, like in the Lost Boys?
I think she can still have the job because, again, there's a parallel here. She's got a job in computing, I think it is, that she's going to.
Something like that, yeah.
But when she gets there, you never actually see her go to the job, and then she ends up working as a trainee restaurant manager.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And just turns around. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I never even noticed that. The things you miss when you were a kid.
Yeah. It's because it's only in that one scene after Daniel goes to Cobra Kai for the first time.
That's right, yeah, that's right. And they sit down and he's eating the French fries and she's not eating anything because she's on her shift.
Yeah, and then because her boss comes over and goes, "Oh, come on."
Yeah. You had a thought. A thought has occurred.
Sorry, no, I thought there is that scene. While they're talking, her new boss comes and tells her, "Guests are coming, we need to go."
Yeah.
But refers to her by name. And I can't remember what it is. I want to say Lorraine.
Damn, you are right. That's even more disturbing. You really should know her name. Oh my god.
I want to say Lorraine
oh my god.
or Lauren or something. I think it's an L. I'm not sure. But I might just be saying that because Sam and Michael's not Lucy.
Actually getting on the TV and checking. We're now
exactly. So we'll have to.
Maybe we should do that after this.
Yeah. But yes, so it shows that in terms of her character, she's very changeable.
Yes, she's adaptable.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yes. So maybe they get to Santa Carla. Sorry, again, getting ahead of myself. So what I was thinking then, and I know the movies themselves, because Lost Boys wasn't until 87, but that doesn't matter to the story itself.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of history, that's pretty damn close.
Exactly. So what if, not trying to link them in terms of that they are connected things, but because they are now connected because of what we're doing. Sam, Michael, and their mum are moving to, they've left Phoenix, they're going to go to this place in Reseda that they've got, but the place doesn't take pets, so they give Nanook to Grandpa to look after. Grandpa has... that would establish Nanook in there. Again, it might not be necessary.
Why? Isn't that a crossover between the films? And then whose Grandpa is Grandpa?
Well, it's...
Or do you think Grandpa is Mr. Miyagi?
I don't think Grandpa should be related to... Well, I was thinking possibly wouldn't be related to Daniel and his mum. They have gone to stay there because they're renting from him.
Well, you see, I'd say that.
Or do you want to just make it completely that is Dad?
Well, yeah, I kind of figured that we're keeping the people but swapping the plots.
Fair enough.
So they're going to Grandpa because that's what they're doing in.
Okay, no, that works for me. So we're saying that Nanook is Grandpa's dog.
Okay, yes, that was going to be my next.
But
Who
that's
does Nanook belong to?
Yeah.
Was going to be the question. Yeah, thank you very much. That's what I was leading towards there.
Which again would work because, as subtly as should probably say at this point, there will be spoilers. Be prepared for it.
Oh yeah, because
I know
nobody knows what happens in these movies.
Exactly. No. Somebody watching this might not have seen them.
Okay, yeah, it's fair enough. Yeah, if you are 6.
Yes.
Yeah, you should probably stop watching this video and look for
Absolutely.
something else for a while. Or better still, go and watch the movies we're talking about, because they are great movies.
They are, and then you can come back. So, in the same way that Max has Thorn as his
sidekick,
his sidekick, his guardian during the day, why can't Grandpa have a dog that is his first line of defense?
Yeah, well, yeah.
His own warning
man's
signal.
best friends and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
So that works. And I agree, because, Nanook definitely belongs. He has agency in that film.
I just feel like if Nanook is not there are so many problems with some of the stuff that happens later in the story.
Absolutely.
So many problems. So he kind of needs to be there.
Yeah.
He needs to be for the story to work.
Definitely.
For the story to still be the same story.
Okay, so that works. And again, with Daniel's mum.
Yeah.
So yes, again, she may have a job in a
She might be moving there for a job she thinks she has.
Yeah. But when she gets there, probably in a very similar way to how Lucy does it herself. They get there, she goes to the boardwalk, she sees the nightlife. Wow, this is brilliant. Actually, do I want to be stuck in an office somewhere where I could possibly get a job here?
Oh, so make her a little bit more like Lucy, like more of a free spirit?
Not so much a free spirit. Again, it's still
I know she's pretty light-hearted.
It's still in her character, but it's,
They're pretty light women, they're pretty easygoing.
Just thinking about, because in Karate Kid itself, she makes such a thing about, the place has got a pool, it's California, this kind of thing.
Yeah, that
and
pool.
Exactly. The pool.
And that's the thing, though. I mean, because it's like when Sam and Michael arrive at Grandpa's and realise there's no TV.
Yes.
That moment with the pool is a similar moment, and I can see how that would play out almost exactly the same way.
Yeah.
With, expectations being, severely limited there.
Exactly. But then, there is this lovely boardwalk, and if she can get a job there.
Yes, yeah.
Much better than being stuck in an office. And that, again, brings an interesting and a different dynamic to how Max reacts to her. Because she's a bit more sassy.
Yes, she is. She's a New Jersey girl.
Yeah.
She's got sass. She's
an Italian American, very much so. And I think that is probably equally attractive to him as the slightly more demure nature of Lucy.
Yeah, they're both equally bright spirits for different reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. Okay, well, that works. So the beginning of the story kind of makes sense. So we've got Nanook is Grandpa's. Mm-hmm. That's fair enough. That makes sense. Keeps him in the story. Doesn't ruffle too many of the story pages later on. So they both arrive, and like you say, she's probably looking for a computer job, but finding out she'd prefer to do something on the boardwalk. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The thing that troubles me is Danny, as written in The Karate Kid, he makes perfect sense to meet Star, to meet David. All of those things on the boardwalk make perfect sense. What troubles me is how is he gonna? How do we get that version of Daniel to meet the Frog Brothers? Danny doesn't strike me as a comic book reader. I'm not saying I'm wrong, because of course we are swapping plots, so maybe he is a comic book reader. Maybe we just don't see that in The Karate Kid.
So this is one of those things where maybe we need to cheek it slightly. Now, we know that he is learning karate from a book.
Sure, yeah. So he might be wandering on the boardwalk looking for a karate class or something like that?
Yeah, either that. We know that they sell comics, but we don't know what else they sell. They may have something in there.
Well, we know they used to have a frozen yogurt bar and a bunch of other shit in the back.
Exactly. So
there's been a bunch of things in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe there's an old flyer for a karate class or something.
Yeah. And
or Tai Chi, maybe even. Who knows?
Yeah. Or even he goes in to see if they've got anything. If they have a section that's like books and stuff, he might go and see if they've got.
Yeah.
It could even be
maybe it's a comic book / bookstore, one of those sort of eclectic ones.
Or even something as, I know it's not karate per se, well, it's not karate, but even something as simple as he's walking by and in the window he sees an old dog-eared copy of the Tao Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah, okay. A book I happen to have. Never read.
I have it.
It's really embarrassing.
Yeah, I do have it. I've read bits of it. That's about as far as I got. Because he's like, I want to do this, but I haven't.
I just love looking at the photographs and realising that these photographs taken by a man who had perfected the art.
Yeah.
But never mind, we're digressing.
Exactly.
We are digressing. we are
Okay. Yeah, so if we did want to, as the story develops, allow a certain degree of development for Danny's martial arts, because it's something he does practice, and especially...
I'm noticing you're really focusing on that. I'm wondering whether this is going to come into play later on, because you've given this some thought, haven't you?
A little bit, yeah.
I can tell you've got this look in your eye. You know where you're going with this. You're not just randomly making things up.
I've had a couple of quiet night shifts at the hospital, and while I can do my work, in here it's all kind of like, oh, what about this? What about this? But what I was thinking was being able to learn stuff from a book or from, not from a teacher, that has precedent within just generally in cinematic history, especially in things like kung fu movies and things like that.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly. You've also got something like that does happen in the Karate Kid itself. Most of the time, Mr. Miyagi tells him what to go and do, and he goes and does it.
Yeah.
But when he comes round to paint the house, Mr. Miyagi isn't there. He's gone fishing.
Yeah.
And he's left all of the stuff with instructions and even a little diagram of how he wants him to paint.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a Jackie Chan film from the probably late 70s, early 80s called Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. It's one of the first Jackie Chan films.
I've seen a few Jackie Chan movies, but not that one. No.
It's fantastic. It was one of the first ones I ever saw when I was a kid. And there's this, a drunken master who's kind of watching him and he's no good at karate or at kung fu. So what he does is he keeps leaving him little things to practice. And so it's like, it might be on one of the tests that he leaves him. He's drawn it all out in footprints.
Okay.
You need to put your feet here, and then goes off for...
So you're thinking this might be an influence?
I think it might be an influence, yeah. Yeah, as such, if we can allow for that, because Lost Boys is a bit freer with its logic, with its physical logic. It's a bit more of a comic book film. There's more of a...
No, citation needed. What's your argument here?
Comic book is probably...
Horror movie aesthetic, yes, absolutely. I mean, it's not per se horror film, it's more of a teen film with horror elements to it.
Yeah, I think I was saying comic book simply because...
are based in the horror.
Yeah, I think I was only saying comic book because that's what's in vogue at the moment. That's the first term that sprung to mind. But yes, yeah, it's certainly freer in that respect, that in the same way that the Frog Brothers have learnt to become vampire hunters from reading comics, as far as we can tell. And from watching movies. So those things can inform and lead to success. It's not...
I never assumed that.
Okay.
I mean, no, I'm sure that at the beginning... Oh, I'm having a moment of deja vu here. That's weird. I'm sure that at the beginning they probably got their ideas from comic books, but they're confident that they know that there are werewolves and ghouls inhabiting high places in Town Hall. And even Grandpa admits the one thing he could not stomach about Santa Carla was all the goddamn vampires.
Yes.
Which suggests to me that they may have started with comics, but they've probably got some experience. I mean, they're at least carrying mostly the right kit around.
That's true.
All right, they're a bit confused about the garlic.
And obviously not inviting people in.
Well, yes. That's,
That's a lesson, kids. If anybody says they're not coming in unless you invite me, tell them where to go. And make sure that you're completely inside the door, because they will pull you out.
Yeah.
Nasty buggers. So I think we can say that he can get better simply through that method.
All right, yes.
I'm not saying he's not going to be the same level, but just in case it comes into play later on, down obviously through the story.
Yeah. We accept that it's established that Daniel knows karate in the same way that we know that Michael practices with his weights in the movie.
Yes, perfect analogy. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, cool. All right, accepted. I buy that. All right, so he knows some karate. He has the capacity to learn some more from a book.
Yeah. The other thing with it as well, why I do like how he fits into the Michael category, so that he can fulfill that role within the film, is he doesn't want to be there.
Of course,
he has that more.
That's
so
what I mean. Their stories do begin in the same way. They're both going to places they don't want to go to.
But he certainly has that more. He's more angsty about it, and he's more physical about his displeasure, because he gets.
That's actually one of the things I wanted to say since the moment we brought this up. It's one of those things that I didn't notice a lot that much as a kid. I noticed the being pushed around. I didn't notice the other stuff. Daniel Larusso's kind of an ass.
He can be, yes.
He leaps at every fight that is presented to him.
Mm-hmm.
He does go for it. He's kind of a jerk that way. Mind you, so is Sam.
Yeah.
In his pretension and his comic bookiness. He's kind of a jerk.
So I
guess it kind of balances out there.
Yeah. There's the bit when, after they run him off the road, and his mum comes home from work, and he's there, and he's throwing the bike into the dumpster. And it all comes out, and all of that kind of teenage repressed kind of rage would inform his decision to try and ingratiate himself with people like David.
And you see, I'd already gone there for that, so I know what you're thinking.
What did you think?
Although I do want to say one thing. The obvious thing, in the same way that we have to agree that Nook's in the movie, is that we also have to agree that Danny's bike is now a motorcycle. E-scenes can't work correctly. Nobody on a BMX is keeping up with any dirt bike. It just ain't happening.
No, it's not. It doesn't matter how much you want to stretch it.
No.
That was I do think about that, and I was like, how does that...
It has to be.
It has to be.
He's 15.
Yeah.
He's old enough to have a dirt bike.
That's true.
I think you can have them at 14, or at least at that time.
Okay.
Even younger, but I'm pretty sure at least 14 you could have them. And as a 15-year-old, a dirt bike, no worries. I
mean, if you want to... No, that would be breaking it too far, I think. I was going to suggest he has, like, a scooter or something, but obviously that's not going to be good enough to take care of them, so one of them lets them borrow his bike for the race, but that breaks it, that changes the dynamic of that scene too much.
It's too much friendliness.
It is, yes. And it is, absolutely, yeah. So that works. Okay, I'm happy with that.
Okay, cool.
Because I was thinking about that, and that was one thing I couldn't quite see how to get around it, because there are scenes where he's on his BMX, or where Sam is on his BMX with the Frog Brothers.
Yeah. Yes, but this is where you have to accept that Daniel is both Michael and Sam, and in some respects he has to have the bike.
Yeah, he does. Absolutely.
I was thinking about that kind of early on, because that's when I was saying there's some tricky scenes later on in the movie. I mean, obviously we'll get to that later, but I think in that particular instance it wouldn't be Daniel. It would be just the Frog Brothers going to the church to get the holy water and to do all of things.
Because he would be filming the Michael role and be back at the house asleep.
And probably unable to step on holy ground.
Yes. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, they didn't actually say about that, but yes. Yeah.
I think it would be weirder, because instead of a three-way conversation becomes a two-way conversation.
Yeah.
But the dynamic is still there. They're still pursuing the same goals.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would just have to be the Frog Brothers going out to get all the equipment.
That makes sense.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are getting ahead of ourselves. So if we start from the beginning and work our way through it.
Yeah, okay. Feels like we worked through most of the kinks here.
I think so. The only other one is time. The two movies happen on a different time scale. Lost Boys is a few days at most, maybe a week and a half.
No, no, gosh, no.
Really? I always figured it was
it's over at least weeks.
Do you think?
It's over at least weeks, yeah. If you pay attention to the opening credits, there's more than them just arriving in town. There's a whole montage of Michael going looking for jobs and get rejected, and other people doing other shit. There's a lot more that goes on in that movie. It's all right. It might not be months, but it's certainly at least a couple of weeks.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, because I thought about a week to 2 weeks at most. Because that montage, but the montage thing.
Karate Kid is what, 2 to 3 months?
It's 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it starts in September.
The challenge and the tournament. So the other bit must
and
be
they're there for a while before that. Because I think right at the beginning it says Newark, New Jersey, September, and the tournament is until December.
Oh, okay, well that makes sense because obviously he gets his ass beat on Halloween.
Yeah,
and also, it's the next day or the day after that, and they go in and lay the challenge.
Yeah,
and they get 2 months, which would take it to December.
Which is interesting because again, it's something else that I missed as a kid.
I always looked at a montage meaning a lot of time has passed. So when you see that montage of him like practicing on the beach and standing on the piles,
that is those 2 months,
weeks or like a month or whatever.
Yeah, I'd just forgotten, I think.
But no, I don't know. I mean, that's probably my assumption as much as it's yours, you know.
True. But yes, there's something that does. I mean, it doesn't have a huge amount of. It changes the tempo of the film a bit, of each of the films a bit, because we're used to Danny having kind of like spurts of activity, and then we establish that there are great periods of time where nothing's happening. Whereas all of this time for him is condensed, so it's how would he react differently.
Weirdly, I feel like you're worrying about the Karate Kid part of Daniel far too much because he's not in Karate Kid anymore.
That's very true.
His life is dictated by the rhythms of the plot of the Lost Boys.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Okay, they arrive.
Yeah.
There's the bit at the beginning where they drive around town. When I was watching Lost Boys again, there is that nice moment which I'd again forgotten where they kind of establish Lucy's character quite early on by telling Sam to go and give some money to some homeless kids. Yeah. It's not that I can't see Daniel's mum doing that, I don't think they are financially in a situation where they can afford. I always get the impression that they...
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, no, it's certainly acceptable that, you know, if you're changing the characters, certain scenes aren't going to happen the same way or happen at all sometimes. No, so like a moment like that wouldn't happen. She just they can't even get their car fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have a couple of dollars to give to.
Although you could rework it that they do.
But she might buy them some food. I know that sounds weird, but I could see her being kind of food.
Or the other way we could do it, that would be in keeping with these characters, is they've stopped there, the car won't start, gives them a couple of bucks or a few dimes to give them a hand to push start the car.
That works. That works.
Yep.
That definitely works. Yep. Good save. So
then they get to, obviously, they get to Granddad's, or Grandpa's, and scene ensues. That would play out as normal. He's pretending to be dead on the veranda or whatever. That all plays out fine. Now this is where we get to, again, we don't have that banter between Sam and Michael now, so it's just Daniel, how he finds the place.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. This version of The Lost Boys is going to lose a lot of its cool banter. Not all of it.
No.
But quite a lot of it, because so much of it is about the interplay between those.
Between those two, yeah.
Between those two. You can recreate some of it. I mean, some of them might be things that they might say out loud to themselves.
Mm-hmm. He does do that.
Was there, sort of thing.
He does do that. We know Daniel does like talking to himself. There's a few times in the Karate Kid where he just kind of.
So there would be there are certain scenes that just can't happen because they're direct interactions between the brothers. And there is no brothers.
Yeah. So we could use that scene instead then to maybe start possibly re-establishing a relationship between Daniel and Nanook. It's his grandfather's dog.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yes. All right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So it's fine. It works. It's also him discovering that he's in a house that does not have a TV.
Yes.
In 1985 or 84.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is just new.
Yeah. No.
So cue his unhappiness. Similar to seeing the pool for the first time.
For the first time, yeah, exactly. Also, again, he's gone from living in a city to being out in the country. You know, it's kind of, again, there's that kind of culture shock. Yes, okay, San Carlo's not far, but they are a little bit outside of that.
Now, granted, there's no Freddy to invite him to the beach, but Santa Carla is a beach town.
Mm-hmm.
It's where everything is. It kind of makes sense. He'd probably follow along with his mom the first time she goes looking for a job.
Yes. Which again establishes that next scene when they're on the boardwalk at that first night.
Yeah.
Something's happening.
Totally makes
We are
sense.
here. Let's go and have a look. And you're old enough, you can go off and do what you want. And
Now,
we have it here.
here's where it gets interesting. It depends how closely we want to follow the plot of The Lost Boys.
Mm.
But this is where you start getting bits where one brother's doing one thing and the other brother's doing the other thing. So, like, in that scene, Mom's off trying to find a job, meeting Ed.
Mm-hmm.
Ed
Herman.
Yeah.
Just meet me. It's Max.
yeah, Max. Max, of course it's Max. Why can't I remember that? This is so silly. So, Lucy's off meeting Max, and Daniel, that we know, he's off down the boardwalk, listening to that gig and looking out for cool chicks, and probably spotting Star.
Yes.
This is the question. This is also the moment that Sam wanders into the Frog Brothers establishment for the first time.
It is, but as far as I remember, that scene plays out. They're both brothers are watching a gig.
Yeah.
Michael
spots Star.
He then
drags Sam off.
Yes.
And then at some point Sam goes, "What the hell are we doing?" And he says, "Well, why don't you go and do something else?" And he looks around and goes, "Actually, I think I have."
The scene will work differently, but it's salvageable.
Right, okay, go on.
So
what's your version?
Okay, so he's watching the gig, glances around, notices Star, does the whole kind of like, teenage kind of, you're hot type thing. She leaves, he follows, and gets to the point where she jumps onto the back of the bike with David and rides off, and he's like, "Bummer, ratted out, this isn't going anywhere." Wanders back dejected. As he's wandering back, notices the shop.
Oh.
So it's just that scene happens afterwards.
This spoils the flow of the tropes.
How do you mean?
Because at this point in the story, alright, if you're looking at the Karate Kid, he's met Freddy Fernandez or Vasquez or whatever his name is, and invited him to the beach party. He's been looking at the girl. He's been on the boardwalk. He's looking at the girl. He goes off. He has a confrontation. He has a confrontation.
He does have a confrontation
on the beach in the Karate Kid, and if he's following the path of Michael, he gets on the bike, he goes on the race, nearly crashes at the edge, and tries to start a fight with David. So it's the same thing reflected in different tropes.
We also know that Daniel has a little bit more moxie than Michael does.
Oh yeah, he would really go in for that punch. He would not.
Yeah, but also with the girls as well, he would go up and talk to her. Whereas Michael's a bit more reticent.
He had that New Jersey Saz.
Exactly.
Where did they say they were from? Phoenix, Arizona.
The boys themselves. Yeah, so different.
Yeah.
Well, so that does work, because what we can do then is we can slightly take the scene that leads to the bike race, but take part of that and put it earlier. So he does go up and speak to her, and he does say, "Hey, do you want to go and get something to eat?" and stuff like that.
Okay.
Then they turn up.
Yeah.
And she leaves with them. Danny doesn't have his bike, so he can't race.
But it's the same problem. It's avoiding the conflict on the beach.
Yeah.
My solution is pretty straightforward, I think. Obviously, he's gone onto the boardwalk with his mom because she's looking for a job. He's probably trying to find work himself. He's already tried a couple of times, but he's going to try. He's looking around before Lucy wandering into the store and meeting Max.
Yeah.
He gets distracted on the boardwalk by a comic book store. So that scene plays out with the Frog Brothers. Then he goes looking for his mom, gets distracted again by the music.
Yeah.
Sees Star.
And then that goes into that scene there.
Yeah.
Okay. This is sounding like then, because I know you said you want the confrontation on the beach to match the tropes across.
Well, it's one of those things that both of those stories have at the same point.
But certainly the first, that kind of confrontation, physical confrontation, isn't until the bike race, which is the next night.
No.
Yeah. No. The first night when they go to the beach. Yeah, the first night when they go to the beach, it's the second day that he has the bike race. It's not the first occasion. Absolutely but certain, because that's the point. Or have I missed something? Is there another confrontation?
What? No,
there isn't, no.
One confrontation with David.
Yeah, and that's the second night. It's not the night that he sees
Although
Star.
David confronts him later.
You have them on the beach for the first time. on the first night, we established the first time they go to the boardwalk.
Yeah.
That's where you see the bit. Obviously, we introduce the Frog Brothers. She goes round, or he follows her round. She gets on the back of the bike and rides off.
I think I know what you're mixing up. Two very similar scenes. There's the first scene. They're at the gig. They're watching Orly Saxman.
Yeah.
Doing his thing. He spots Star. Starts to follow her. Dragging Sam along with him.
Yeah.
And then Sam complains and he's like, well, don't you have anything better to do? And Sam wanders off to the store. And
that's the end of that. And then that resolves itself. And then it's the next day.
Wait, no.
There's a whole day in between the two.
No, there are two separate situations, yes, but I'm trying to get the facts straight on which one was which.
The first one is where he follows her.
He's just bought the leather jacket.
That's the second night, which leads to the
second night getting the earring. So the first night is
just following her, and then she jumps on the back of David's bike and they ride off. He looks at him and they ride off.
Oh, damn.
And then you've got
I'm the one who's getting it back to front. Oh, damn.
That's all right, man. No worries.
Oh, dear. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
So for the pacing of the Lost Boys, because in that storyline, that still needs to play out.
Yeah, it does. It does. It still needs to play out.
Because that's how he knows that he's kind of like, oh yeah, but she likes that kind of guy.
Well, that's it. Because in terms of, if you're talking about confrontations, obviously by definition, Karate Kid's got a lot more confrontations in it.
It does.
And if you're following the beats of what Daniel would do, he would. He would. You're right. He would attempt to confront him and realise he didn't have the right back. I am so sorry. I've been arguing for like 5 minutes for the most wrong reasons.
It's all right, man. But yes, I do still agree that he would go and speak to Star on the first night.
Yeah, he would.
He wouldn't try to like. No, he's not as reticent
straight away.
Yeah. Which again, as we said, scenes will change, so it may mean that there is a minor conflict there. It may not get physical, but there will certainly be crossed words.
Maybe Star joins them before they get on the bike, so there's that moment of confrontation, and they're like, "We're on our hogs, man. What do you want to do?"
Yeah.
And he realises he's outclassed.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Especially with, again, Grampa Miyagi being a lot slighter than Michael is. He's not at that point, he doesn't come across as physically intimidating.
Not at all.
So he's going to be like, and these guys are
skinny as a rake.
Yes. I agree. So we do meeting the Frog Brothers first.
Yeah.
Then the gig. Then the slight confrontation. And then that's the end of the first night.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's montage with Grandpa, isn't it? It's
going
to town and all that stuff.
Yes.
That's as closest to town as I like to get.
Yep.
That whole bit.
And again, that's fine. It's a classic car.
Yeah.
Again, this is another thing that the two movies.
Once again, Grandpa's really weird.
Yes.
Just really weird.
Which would then move us into day 2.
Yes.
Yes. So again, the other thing as well is we don't have school involved here.
Not per se, no.
Because it's school holidays. Because I know Lucy mentions a few times.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, he does mention school, but it's not.
It's not starting. Yeah, they're in their break, which is fine. So that means the second day we can do some stuff with Daniel learning karate. Maybe he saw the book in the shop, but didn't have the money for it. So it's now the next day he's got some money he's got some cash from his mum, and he's going back to buy the book.
Why are you keep dragging karate back into it? It's not the Karate Kid. You do know that.
I know it is. I know it isn't. I'm simply I'm not trying to make the fact that he's going to become this karate wizard in it. That's not what I'm trying to do at all. I'm just trying to use things that we know.
A big deal out of it 3 times now.
It's just because we know that it's one of the things in the Karate Kid that he's most focused on. That he's very passionate about it.
The Karate Kid.
No, it's not. But that doesn't mean that he's not passionate about it.
Okay.
And if we can and I'm simply trying to use that as a way of.
Right.
Giving him agency to get to where he needs to be.
Okay, at the moment I do not see where you're going with this, but okay, fair enough.
All I'm thinking is, again, he sees the comic book stores, he sees something in there that he's interested in, he goes and has a look.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the money to buy it. So a reason for him to go back. Because I know in The Lost Boys they never actually establish a reason why Sam goes back to the store. He just turns up there the next day.
Because they clearly know what they're talking about.
But he knows nothing about that. He knows what they're talking about comics.
Yes, and
yes,
they gave him free stuff.
True.
Everybody goes back to a comic store that gives you free stuff.
You don't need any other reason for him to go back there because these are about the only other people that he's met of his age.
Yes.
So yes.
But nonetheless, all right. Okay, so we're moving on to day 2.
Yeah.
Which is it's quite a lot of Grandpa being odd.
Yes.
And it's
Michael's doing
like
weights.
The weights and
which again you can have Daniel practicing if he wants to do that.
Moments with stuffed animals.
Yes.
So you got a fair montage there, and then
him going back to the store.
Yeah.
And then they can plug him a bit more with this stuff about of vampires and stuff like that. Do we need to know? I think we've pretty much covered Daniel's mum getting the job.
Yeah, it seems pretty.
It's again, that would play out the same with doing the motherly thing, lost kid, and then from there.
That whole thing, it doesn't seem like there's any need to change that scene, really.
Yeah. When we get back into the second evening, so that's leading up to the bike chase.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Sam's storyline at that point is the stuff with the stuffed animals.
Yes.
But again, we don't need to worry about that because he's somewhere else doing this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, we ignore Michael during that entire portion of the movie. We then cut to him at night going back to the boardwalk.
Exactly. Yeah. So we can just go straight to that. He's got his bike this time. Do you think Daniel would go and buy a leather jacket?
He's seen the guys that she rides with.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's the same motivation Michael has, and it makes sense.
So yeah, he gets the jacket. Probably gets the earring. Or he looks at the earring, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he doesn't get it. Yeah. And again, it'd be interesting. Again, that conversation will be different because Daniel is a little bit more. He's got a bit more of a gift of the gab about him.
Mm.
Star's very much in control of that interaction. That first time.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how Again, obviously, I mean, I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but
there would be more New Jersey sass in that conversation than obviously occurs between Michael and Star. Yeah, definitely.
Leading up to
but functionally, I don't think the conversation would differ at all.
No, leading back up to them getting to his bike.
Yeah,
and then we go into the into the race.
The beach
yes, which again will play out pretty much as it has to, kind of, because of.
Well, I was thinking about this earlier on, and it's like. Because there's a bit of a big question. Again, it's because of in the original story, there's two different storylines with the two different brothers that you had to ask yourself, does Daniel drink or not? But ultimately, the more I think about it, the more I think Daniel has to drink for certain things to be relevant.
Yes, of course he does. Well, no, he does. We do know he drinks because he has his first taste, doesn't he, with Mr. Miyagi on when he's celebrating the anniversary.
Does he drink alcohol? I mean, does he drink the wine?
Oh, I see.
Because there's one version where Daniel might pretend to drink the wine to try and impress the guys, because he's new in town. And there's another version of Daniel who might actually drink the wine because he's new in town and trying to impress the guys.
Yeah.
But I think he actually has to drink.
So we could find a middle ground there? Kind of does both?
How can you kind of do both, either do or do not?
I'm kind of looking ahead, because we still want... He's filling these two roles. So he still has to have this interaction in terms of the Sam role with the Frog Brothers, which is some of that he can't do, because some of those...
it just can't happen.
Because,
it just cannot physically happen.
Because it's happening by day.
That scene cannot happen. Other scenes. There are scenes
that cannot
happen because they only happen because of Sam.
No Clarence Frogman, Henry.
No lonely boy.
No. Anyway.
But, yes.
Okay,
no. But we have to decide where the story lies. There's a version of the story where Daniel has drunk and he's trying to save himself. And there's a version of Daniel where he hasn't drunk, but he's
trying to save Star and Laddie.
He's trying to save Star and Laddie. And it's actually an interesting question because it depends which answer you give on how the Frog Brothers are going to treat him.
Exactly.
Which does, by necessity, require certain things to change about the Frog Brothers. They have to be slightly more forgiving.
Yes.
Only slightly, but they do have to be slightly more forgiving.
Which, because we're losing scenes because we've only got one brother, we've only got one protagonist now, if you like, may mean filling up that time earlier on his visits. So there is more of an established rapport between him and the Frog Brothers, so that they care about him a bit more enough. Not like they're best of pals, but they have he knows that they know them well enough to know that he's a good kid.
They're and the guy he goes to when it all gets too much for him and he realises that really is what it is. I mean, this is the thing. I think he has to drink, but I also think he has to be incredibly naive and not realise quite late. Or he does realise, and he does the classic teenager thing with, my friend has this problem.
Yeah.
So he might talk to the Frog Brothers about Star having this problem, which would still allow them to have the whole kill your girlfriend, it'll make you feel better conversation.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
but he's not really. He's talking about himself, and leave it till later that the Frog Brothers realise that he's infected.
Yes.
By which point they're too invested, and we're too invested. Because otherwise, why would? Because we know they're militant. You know,
they would just go, "Oh no, you're one of them. Let's get rid of him."
Yeah.
But then with that, he can then, because he's read the comics by that point.
Yes, of course. Yes, he has read.
He has got a bargaining chip there and say, "What this says about the head vampire? I can take you to the head vampire. Don't kill me." So there is that can be worked into it as well. I'm not saying it as a replacement.
I hadn't considered that.
I'm not saying as a replacement, but it just adds an extra layer.
Yeah.
It gives him an extra layer of banter between them, and it gives Daniel an extra bargaining chip to say, "Don't come and stake me. I can take you to the guy in charge, and we can save more than just me."
So what the hell were we talking about? Actually, what the hell happened to the lights?
I don't know. I've not moved. It must have been Trent. Never says a bloody word.
So, yes.
He will do one day, and that's going to scare me even more. Yes, so I think we were up to... So we've done the motorbike chase.
Yes, we have. Yes.
And so we now move into them going to their lair. Yes, which is a wonderful lair. And I always thought that's it's such a throwaway thing in the film. Being role players and played with quite a lot of stuff like World of Darkness and things like that.
Yeah.
Do they all have baby face?
Well, yeah, they all have babies. Yeah.
For those who
have chimistry as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. For those who don't know, in Vampire in the World of Darkness, babyface is a merit that you can take for your character, which means that even though you're dead and a vampire, you can still eat and drink food and drink. Oddly enough, but yes. Yeah. So, and again, I think that would play out pretty much the same. Although I was just thinking, it is a perfect opportunity for another moment of conflict, because I think Danny's the kind of guy who, once he realised he's being punked, he would probably take a swing.
Yeah, I can kind of see where you're leading.
Yeah.
You think you'd have another go at David?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so what do you think the result with that will be then?
They want him there. They want him there for a reason, so they're not going to do anything to jeopardise trying to bring him into the fold. But I think there would be enough of an exchange for Danny to realise that he's outclassed.
No, right, okay. See, I have to admit, I fell on the other side myself. Okay. I think he'd be, at this point, he's in with a bunch of weirdos.
Because, he's there. They wouldn't have invited him otherwise,
And has accessed the girl that he's been chasing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he would be worried about losing face. I suppose I think a lot about the things that Star does, the way she reaches out and goes, no.
Yeah.
She does that quite a lot during that scene. Because I think Michael is in the same position when it's his turn. I think he does nearly lash out a couple of times. And I think that maybe Daniel is so desperate to impress the girl.
True.
I think he would bite the bullet. He would probably make more of a show of it.
Mm-hmm.
Much more of a show.
So we're talking about the actual drinking or him?
Oh, no, not just the show of it, but like with the worms and the maggots and all of the rest of it. I think he'd start up, she'd say something or she'd do something. And
that's true. Yeah. So it's there. So you've still got the conflict there. So that is
you could see that you would be able to see that he'd want to, because he is so much more hot-headed than Michael is.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
But I think with Star being there within his physical presence would, like, especially if she reached out like she did once with Michael and put her hand on his shoulder.
Yeah, that's true.
That might make him go, all right.
Which then brings us to what we were discussing earlier, the blood itself.
Yes.
I like the second of your suggestions, that he does it because he wants to prove himself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is by this point, he's had the race, he's had the confrontation, he's had the maggots, he's had the worms, he's been tested, he knows this is a test. It's almost, I don't know if he thinks he's being hazed, but he knows this isn't Johnny beating him up on the beach.
No, it's not.
It could have been, but it's not. And he, like, his natural instincts would be to have that confrontation on the beach. But I think after this point, like, if he got through it as far as he went the way I think he does, and he'd go with the girl, he'd go, right, this is the last test. Because they start chanting and everything. It's a ritual. It's a haze.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
It's a hazing. Michael, Daniel. Yeah. And she'd be like, you don't have to. And by that point, it'd be like a dare. And again, that New Jersey sass.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely he'd do it.
Yeah, I think he'd do it. Even, and that's the thing, because he'd be completely ignorant, I think, of the implications. I think he'd literally think this is a test. Like a gang test. I'm not saying that Michael was more cognizant of what was going on, but he knew something odd was happening. But I think with Daniel, if he got through the first couple of tests, he'd go, no, I'm being tested. I've just got to pass the gate. I've got to get in with the gang and I can talk to the girl. And I think that would drive him.
Definitely.
I like it. And I think he would be utterly ignorant of what he'd just done. This is the thing. I think it would take him a bit longer than Michael did to realise. Not much, because we'll come to that, because that's a difficult scene once again because of brothers. I think I know how that scene works. But anyway.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Michael. Okay. So I think, he drinks, and he probably drinks deep. Yeah. He has a big belting swig to prove he's a big boy.
Yeah, he might cough some of it up. He doesn't drink alcohol a lot.
No, well,
so he will probably take
in America, most 14 or 15-year-olds, you wouldn't expect them to know hard liquor at all.
So he may cough some of it back up.
Beer from your dad's can.
Exactly. As we were saying earlier, he may spit something back up, which at one point I was considering, could that be a way of explaining away his ability to still move around by day because he has to interrelate?
Are you comparing that to the scene in The Karate Kid?
When he drinks with Mr. Miyagi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to point out that Mr. Miyagi was almost certainly pouring him bourbon.
Yeah.
That's not wine. That's a lot different.
No.
That's not got the same gag reflex on it, does it?
I just think about it because that's the only time that we actually sort of really see him drink alcohol in the film, and we see his reaction to it.
He's a good boy. He would hesitate at first.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. These tests that he's been put through, that would be the thing that would push him.
Also, we have to consider that he's not drinking wine.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but we've got to take it. We've got to take it
as the audience sees it. Yeah, and as the audience sees it, he's drinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although most of the audience are going, "No, don't do it!
Don't do it! Don't do it, Ricky!"
So he does that, and then again, most of those bits would play out the same as when they go to the bridge and things like that.
Yeah.
Although
that's one of the reasons why he has to drink.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the bridge scene does not work.
No, it doesn't.
You need it to work that way because it becomes so dreamlike, and it's easy to imagine that Daniel might. Again, I'm leaning into his naivety here. Mm-hmm. He might dismiss a lot of what he remembers as a drunken haze.
A drunken haze, yeah.
But if he didn't drink, he wouldn't have that quality, and he would be absolutely terrified. And the scene would play differently. That's step one in why Daniel has to drink, but that is definitely one of them. Yeah.
But it also supports itself as well because having drunk his blood, so he would be physically stronger than he would normally be, because when you watch that scene with Michael, because Jason Patrick was a pretty big guy at the time.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It makes sense that he could hold on. Ralph Macchio at the time wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes.
Oh, he was a little matchstick of a guy.
Yeah. So no offense to Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, no offense to no offense to David.
We love what you do, but just looking at it,
you were almost as skinny as I was when I was a kid. So
and I was that skinny. I've got photos to prove it. So yeah, and that allows that scene again to play out. And again, as you say, he's a bit high on having drunk David's blood.
Yes.
So it becomes that dreamlike thing. He doesn't question it as much. I'd still think he would be a bit more reluctant to go under the bridge. They may need to coax him a bit more than they do.
Oh yeah, he would bitch and whine more. Yeah, he is also much more of a whiner as well as being more feisty.
Which again, that's where you were saying that this version of the film would lose cool points. You can inject some back into it in terms of what he says and how he approaches that.
I think, you're right. That's a good point. That would be an opportunity to play some momentary comedicness into the situation.
Memorable lines and things like that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, he still follows them because he wants to be part of this. Because, as you say, there is a prize that he's shooting for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's chasing the prize. He's after the bell.
And that's fun because, again, that goes neatly into the next day where he wakes up in bed.
Yes, indeed it does, yeah.
That's one thing that we'll have to look at. I mean, I suppose he can just wake up because in the film it's Sam who wakes him up.
All right, you see, this is where I start my thoughts from earlier on start to come into it. It would be simpler, but it would cut so much out because if he just wakes up, no, he needs to be woken because he's irritable, and there's that sort of visual exposition happening in that scene. I think that his mother would call him, but I imagine her doing this kind of helping you by getting you to help someone else, and ask him to keep an eye on Grandpa while she was out that evening.
As far as I recall...
would have a lovely little comedic moment about 30 seconds later when Grandpa disappears on his date to the widow Jenkins or whatever it is.
Yeah. I was going to say, because I couldn't remember whether that scene when they're at home, I thought their mum was at work.
Yeah, she phones from work to say that she's having dinner with Max.
So that's what wakes him up, is the phone call?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be the phone
of course.
call.
Yeah.
And then it would be like, oh, can you do me a favor and keep an eye on Grandpa? You know?
Yeah.
And then, of course, you go downstairs and Grandpa would be going on his day.
Yes.
Which would leave him alone in the house. This is where it gets weird, because, of course, in the original, that's where the bathroom scene happens.
Exactly.
So I'm imagining, in some ways, it would begin the same. You know, like he would go to the kitchen and would feel the hunger and
go for
the milk and freak out.
Yeah. So I suppose the only thing with this then, so just to interject, where is Nanook at this point?
In the house.
He's in the house, but
in the house. This is how I see it playing out. And I know it's a bit clumsy, but it's literally, it was the sort of smoothest transition, because it's the most obvious big gap where the film has a great scene. And how do you smooth over the edges of that and make it flow? I'm imagining, because, you know, he goes for the milk, he freaks out, he drops the milk, and the heartbeat goes, and he starts, you know, baring his teeth and stuff like that. And I'm imagining him maybe stalking around the house, maybe sniffing out, and then being confronted. I actually imagine, instead of being confronted with Nanook, he would find him confronted with the mirror, as Sam sees him in the mirror.
Yeah.
And then Nanook would jump him? Because Nanook was still going to try and protect his house.
Yes, this is something unnatural in his domain.
I know it's very clumsy. It does not work in any way to make up for the lack of the lonely boy. But it's the only one that makes sense, because, you know, he's had this moment, this shock of realization, something odd is happening. He's seen himself in the mirror and it's not right. Then the damn dog attacks him. He goes to lie down and just calm himself and breathe for a while, which leads us neatly into the next consecutive scene.
I suppose if you still wanted to include the lonely boy in there, you could just have it.
You can have it playing in the background.
In the background.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think
it's a lovely scene with Sam and doing the thing.
I think the only thing that I would have suggested as a change to that is you have the bit in the kitchen with the milk.
Yeah.
It starts to retch. So he goes to go to the bathroom.
To make it much more physical, much more obvious.
Yeah. So he goes to go to the bathroom to go and throw up.
Yeah.
As he's going up the stairs, Nanook is at the top of the stairs and stops him getting upstairs, and then attacks him, which then brings you back down the stairs
where the mirror
and
is.
then when he gets up and he looks in the mirror.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I do like that. That's a lot neater. Makes more narrative sense.
Yeah,
definitely.
and then he does the thing, maybe Nanook runs off, or he puts the dog outside.
Yeah.
Then goes upstairs and does the lie down, and then you straight up into
the thing.
Yeah.
Now, I thought earlier on for a while, oh, hang on a minute, that's going to be difficult because of the bit with him and Sam. And it is, because obviously Sam's not there.
Mm-hmm.
But conversation on the telephone doesn't happen because somebody rings from the house. It's because Mom rings from the restaurant to make sure everything's okay.
Yeah.
So, floating on the ceiling, trying desperately to grab onto something, and the phone starts
ringing. It still has that same thing from her point of view.
Yeah.
And because we know Daniel sometimes does kind of talk to himself.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, oh fuck,
yeah, exactly.
all
so
this stuff.
Sam freaking out down the phone. It's Daniel going, Mom, help me, something's wrong, help me.
Yeah.
So you still have the conversation. Mum still comes running home. He still comes back down.
Still comes back down, gets into the house before Mum gets back. Maybe when he gets back in, say he gets back onto his bed.
Yeah.
And amongst all of the stuff that falls out are the comics from the Frog Brothers.
See, this is where it gets difficult.
When does he make the connection?
Because Sam is.
He is the he's the mouthpiece for.
Whereas Michael then sneaks off to go and see Star, and that's when he spends the night in the cave.
No, that's the next night when Max comes to visit them. No, you're right. It is.
Because that's the night he spends in the cave.
He does.
And then the next night he sneaks off to see Star, but ends up running into David, and they take him to the beach party.
That's true.
So yeah, no.
That's does he wait for his mum to come home and then sneak out?
I'm thinking, and I'm doing it for the simply, it's like you'd murder me if I was a professional screenwriter, but I'm going to go because plot.
Yes. Because
we're still trying to it's still trying to be the Lost Boys.
Yes.
I think after the phone call, he would calm down, he would come down from the sky and realise that he needs to go and see
Star and find out what the hell's going on.
He would sneak back.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I know it makes it awkward because, of course, Mum comes back, has a go at Sam about the mess and everything in the house. But you'd still have the same opening. She'd rush into the house, find nobody there, freak out, there's milk all over the floor. Then, because it only happens a few seconds later, Grandpa turns up back from his date. And when she does her venting, she's doing it to Grandpa.
To Grandpa instead of...
Not to Michael. Not to Daniel.
No, to Sam. To Daniel, yes.
Daniel,
Sorry.
Daniel, yes.
Oh, no.
Remember which movie we're in.
Yes.
Remember which movie we're in.
Okay, that works.
I mean, it's not perfect. We lose so many cool lines in such a cool scene.
We do.
But the story
But
still
the plot
flows.
is served, yes.
Yeah.
And so we're saying that we're happy with Daniel going off and popping his cherry.
It seems like he has to, because that's when she starts to admit to him what's really going on and he starts to understand.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because again, in the film, Michael is a little bit suspicious. Our version of Daniel is going to be a lot more naive because he's too eager to be a part of the gang. He's too easy to identify with certain things. That would sit him down on his ass, kind of, oh, damn. You weren't kidding when you said don't drink it.
Yeah.
Kind of moment. And that would be a different scene. But I still see everything playing out, they're going to spend the night together. It's almost inevitable, that kind of bonding.
Cool.
Yes.
So that leaves us, in the Lost
and then he
Boys...
comes back the next morning, and this is another tropey moment. Because although, unfortunately, it's not the same place in the plot, it's where both of the main characters turn up in the morning with sunglasses on and try and hide it from their mothers, who insist they take off their sunglasses so they can see what condition they're in.
Exactly. You've got that...
you can see Daniel's mother having almost the same conversation as Lucy has with Michael.
Yeah.
She's that kind of forgiving mother.
Yeah.
She is a very, very good-natured person. She is. She's shoved into the background so badly, but everywhere she is, she's cheerful and helpful and always looking on the brightest side. And, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so's mom.
Yeah.
She's never creepy or annoying or who the fuck are those people? They're not good enough for us. She's a pretty cool mom, really.
She is a very cool mom.
She's not as much of a hippie as Lucy is, but she's still pretty damn cool.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, that would play out the same. I suppose the only difference really is we have to allow that he is going to go home, he's going to go indoors and he's going to go to sleep.
Yes.
But he doesn't sleep for, say, as long as Michael does, because at some point during the daylight period, he needs to go and see the Frog Brothers.
Yes.
He knows what's going on now. This could be the point where he sees the comic.
So I imagine he rouses himself late in the day, much like he did in the previous morning.
Yes.
And then goes to the comic late in the afternoon, or
which will be about the time because it's when they're opening up, because they seem to open up later for the evening trade.
Yeah. So he can easily have that conversation, I think there's something serious going on.
Of course, by this point we've forgotten that the people that we see, the punks that were on the carousel, they've already bought the farm by this point.
Oh yes, of course. All of that, because that's not dependent on Daniel or Michael or Sam or any of those people.
That's independent. That will still happen.
Yeah. And I mean, for the large part, that scene is going to play out pretty much as it does. Of course, instead of kill your brother, you'll feel better, it'll be kill your girlfriend, you'll feel better.
Yes.
But more or less, it'll be the same sort of scene.
Yeah. But
I'm imagining that, again, it's like I said earlier on, I think his version of the story will be, it's my friend who has this problem, and I'm scared, or whatever. He won't say it's me. I don't think Daniel's too self-conscious. Again, he's socially aware too much in that sort of way.
So this is where we're going to have to cheek things a little bit, because two important scenes need to happen, and they kind of happen at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you've got going to the beach party.
Yes.
But at the same time, you've got Max coming to the house.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So this is going to be the biggest one, because those two scenes, they can technically happen after each other.
The solution I came up with at the beginning actually suffices. They just need to be consecutive.
Okay, that's fine. That works.
Early in the evening. Because, dinner's what, 6, 7 o'clock?
Exactly.
Have dinner with the frogs. Realise that it's clearly not Ed.
Max.
Max, yeah. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. I really don't know what I'm doing.
But Ed Herman, he remembers your name, so that's a good thing.
They'll realise it's not Max, and then I think this is when the Frog Brothers would start to become properly militant.
Yes. And
be like, oh, you've got to kill her, and he's going to go, no, I've got to get her out of there. And he'll go.
Yeah.
And then get taken to the beach party.
Exactly. And
that will play out.
So again, there's a potential there for a lovely moment of conflict there in that, because they do this thing with Max and it doesn't work. So as you say, the Frog Brothers get quite militant. If you don't do something about her, we will. And they leave. And
exactly.
so Daniel has to kind of almost have another argument with his mum and then leave because he needs to find her before they do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then that's when he runs into David and they go off.
David with the beach party happens.
Yes.
So... my friend Shane is always fond of the scalp bite.
Yes.
Just ripping off the top there. That was a favourite one for him. But then, when he goes back after the beach party, instead of going home and talking to Sam, then he goes to talk to the Frog Brothers and says, I know what I am now.
Yes.
Star turns up.
Yes, which again makes it for a wonderful scene as well, because they'll be there as well.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So instead of Sam freaking out and trying to hide under the covers, it's the Frog Brothers going, oh God,
this is real, yeah.
Get the stakes, Yeah. I think that's what would happen.
Which is nice as well, because it's extra stuff with the frogs, which we don't get in the original film. So yeah, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I love it.
Again, they have to be a tiny bit softer than they are in the main film, because otherwise they would have just totally staked Daniel.
Exactly, yeah. Chalked it up as a good job and we'll carry on. Yeah, but no, that works. I like it.
And then, what have you got? You've got... Yes, and then it's the journey to the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, would play out the way it is, although it would be Daniel with heavy sunglasses, kind of...
Trying to drive the car.
This, taking them to the cave.
But again, nice, classic car, so it works.
Daniel would do what Michael does in the cave,
get Laddie and Star.
And then get Star.
Yeah.
And, of course, the boys would immediately start exploring, because they don't need Sam to do that. They are so bloody determined.
Yeah.
And so most of that plays out. It's just that instead of a 3-way dialogue, it's a 2-way dialogue between the two of them. So there's less expositional dialogue and more just like, flies, vampires, they're horrible. But again, the thing with staking out.
But again, even that works between the two of them.
Yeah.
One of them goes, oh shit, flies, you know what that means.
Yeah.
Vampires.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could just hear
more like make them a little bit more like a military unit and play into their jingoism, I suppose. You could lean into that and make it a routine. And again, it gives more... getting into the cave, finding the vampires, staking Alex Winter's character's name I can never remember. Marco, thank you.
Is there anyone I always forget the other two. I know one's Paul, and then I never remember the other one.
No, I don't.
Yeah. I think Twisted Sister is Paul?
Yes, I think so. And Death by Stereo Dude is the one I don't know that well. Yeah. Sorry, man. We're not doing it on purpose, we really not.
But yes, so that works quite well, and then they kind of bug out. And then Daniel's already in the car.
Yes, so Daniel's already in the car, he's taking them up. They've run away, they're freaking out, running back. Grandpa, do you know about filling up a tank with gas? You take it without permission. All that stuff happens.
Just thinking about it, sorry, just as a purely narrative thing, it does work as well, because when David comes down and chases them, he never actually gets as far as the Frog Brothers, because if they're moving at the same speed as they would have been doing in the original cut, the only reason they stop is because he grabs hold of Sam. He wouldn't get hold of Sam, he just kind of lunges for them, and his hand goes into the sunlight, and he pulls it back. Exactly. So again, it all
plays the same. Yeah, it all plays more or less the same.
This is cool.
And then you've got the prep montage, so going to get the holy water and all the garlic smashing and things like that. More of that will be taken up by the Frog Brothers.
Yeah.
Doing it rather than Sam. But also I can see Michael doing some of the stuff that Sam would do, like the smashing of the garlic and the stuff like that.
Daniel.
Not Michael, Daniel. Daniel doing some of the stuff that Sam would do, like maybe smashing the garlic and things like that, and nobody notices that it doesn't bother him.
Yes. Exactly, yeah. I suppose the one scene that would get dropped is him going to see his mum at the video store, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't add anything.
Yeah. I imagine there might be a phone call.
Yeah.
There would be a phone call rather than him actually going to the store.
I don't think it's necessary, because they know what they're doing. They know they have to make the stand, and they know Mum's not going to be there. It's Sam trying to get Mum's help.
Yeah.
And this actually plays into something else that I thought which is...
Yeah, but you do have to have something, because Lucy needs a reason to come home. No, not Lucy, but Mum needs a reason to come home.
But she doesn't. She goes and has a date anyway, and it's just the end of the date.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That brings her back. And it actually works better, because this is one of the things that when I was thinking about it, that is absolutely paramount through all of this, because it's so important in the original Lost Boys, is reality has to be completely... There is nothing to challenge Sam and Michael's mum's concept of reality until the very last moment.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
So losing that scene where her son turns up and tells her that there's vampires in Santa Carla.
Yes, it adds to that.
Yeah, it doesn't. It just reinforces that there is nothing there to challenge her idea of reality. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
But yes, a phone call, she might phone, and he just says, oh yeah, are you seeing Max tonight? Oh, that's fine. Or something like that. Yeah, something to keep her away.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the rest of the montage, more or less, I'd see playing out.
Yeah, and again, Daniel can quite easily, I mean, I know he's a bit more drowsy, but he can still do what Sam does and get Grandpa out of the house.
Down, he gets more active.
True.
Because you see in the montage, Michael does actually go around the house nailing down all the windows and stuff.
That is true. Yeah, of course he does. So that scene
as the sun goes lower and lower in the sky, he gets more and more active.
Yeah, and we know that Grandpa leaves around sort of 7-ish, something like that.
Yeah.
So that scene where he says, "Oh yeah, you with a wind chip," that's it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. So yes, that can still play out as normal.
Yeah. And like now, the very end of the climax, it only takes a small change, I think, to work.
Mm-hmm.
Everything starts to kick off. Everybody runs outside to get Nanook.
Yes, and Nanook is outside because Daniel's in the house, so that makes sense.
Everything goes kablooey.
Yeah.
Everybody runs. Now, in The Lost Boys, it's Sam and Michael who are trapped downstairs.
So that's the only thing. Oh, sorry,
the Frog Brothers are forced upstairs with Star and Laddie.
Yes.
In this version, it would be Michael and Star trapped downstairs in the living room.
Daniel and Star.
God damn it.
No, there is one thing.
I don't remember what movie I'm in.
It's fine. But there is one thing that we do need to have a look at very briefly.
What's that?
I think we've covered it. Part of the reason why Sam goes out after Nanook is because it's his dog. There isn't the same relationship between Nanook and Daniel.
I don't think Daniel's a cruel person. Would he leave a dog out to die?
A dog that doesn't want to be near him. But then again, that doesn't matter because they cheek over that in the film anyway because Michael goes and helps. Sorted.
I was going to say, did that make any difference in the film?
As I said, it was an aside. It was just a minor point that I wanted to allude to, but yes. Daniel is a quick learner. Sorry, a little bit of business that you could even include there. When he goes to go and get Nanook, he's at the house and then he's down by the thing. He's a quick learner. Maybe he does a bit of a leap.
I suppose.
Again, it's just a bit of business that might.
Yeah, I consider things like that. But yeah, I suppose it's a possibility. Yeah, it's certainly conceivable. He's already flown a bit, hasn't he? So
yeah,
he could do. Yeah, that would make it interesting.
Just like
actually, it would help to reinforce the way the Frog Brothers behave in the next scene.
Yes,
because they grab the dog, run into the house, everything goes bang,
and they go to kill Star.
In the original, in this version, it would be Daniel and Star trapped downstairs in the living room. The Frog Brothers would still be forced upstairs and they'd still have Laddie with them. And there's no reason why they haven't even been introduced to this young fellow, why they wouldn't want to stake the fuck out of him.
Which is really weird that he's in that...
So I can see them doing exactly what they did.
Which is still a weird thing in the film, that Laddie is in that scene when they're talking about how vampires go out. There's the two Frog Brothers, there's Sam this side, and on this side is Laddie.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird that he's there. They're quite happy with him.
Oh, I always figured that was the way that the Frog Brothers just didn't give a shit.
Okay. And I suppose at that point...
I might be talking about the way you're going to die. Deal with it.
I hadn't thought about that. And I suppose at that point it was during the day still. It was dusk, so...
Yeah, exactly.
He hadn't become...
so they'd still do the thing. They'd run upstairs. They'd go, I say stake him.
Yeah.
They'd go for him. The kid would run.
Yes.
And suddenly Paul is there and Twisted Sister moment happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, of course, is why we need Nanook. Because really, that scene doesn't work. If the boys do it themselves, it's just not got the impact.
It doesn't.
It's the da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Okay, so that works. And then, as you say, downstairs, you've got Daniel and Star.
Daniel and Star, and of course...
Which is when Death by Stereo turns up.
Death by Stereo happens, and then Star comes round. They go to run up the stairs.
Yes, she goes up the stairs to go in, and that leads... It fits perfectly because she runs up
you see,
right at the point when they when they do the Eddie Munster bit, and then she bursts into the door and stops them. Yes.
Yes. You see, it all works. It does work.
Nice.
I did give it some thought, a little.
Okay.
Just a tiny bit.
Okay, and then the rest of that plays out as it would normally.
As it would. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right through to the end, and that's the end of the film.
Yeah. As far as I can see it, I mean, the hard part is the first two acts.
Yeah.
It really is. It's the motivations and the shifting of, especially with the Lost Boys having an A and B plot line.
Yes.
and only having one character to follow the two plot lines. How do you do that? Well, that was entertaining, though. But
yes.
I think
So we could make a passable Lost Boys movie with Daniel Larusso instead of the original cast.
Yeah, we could. It wouldn't be not quite as many cool lines, but yeah. We
but there are options, and
make a movie.
We can make a movie out of it, and there are options if we quantify the coolness of the original film and are allowed a certain degree of artistic license to put the same level of coolness into the end product of our new version of it. It works.
It works. I don't think there's ever a world where I'm going to argue that it's better than.
No. But it does what it says on the tin, and
it does.
Yes, yeah. It will stick in the memory, not more than, but certainly at least as much as.
Yeah, I think it probably would. It'd still be the same essential story, wouldn't it?
So that one is a win.
A win. Yes.
2 thumbs up. That's all you need. So there you have it. Episode 1 of Maybe Movies, without a lot of the theatrics that would follow in subsequent episodes, but obviously we will have to start somewhere. Do check back in a couple of weeks, as the other half of this original matchup of ours will be coming along then at the end of the month, and that will see Sam and Michael from the Lost Boys learning the ways of the warrior in the plot of Karate Kid. Thanks again for checking this out, and of course if you do like what we do here, please do consider liking, sharing and subscribing, and checking out the content on the main show as well. Thank you.